Welcome to Lost Artistry Lash. My name is Kaitlyn Elford. I am an educator at international lash brand Lost Artistry Lash. At our company, we focus on offering as much education to lash artists across the world as we can. So today we're going to be focusing on how to perfect the art of classic lash application. Our goal is to talk about how to make your classic lash sets look cleaner, fuller, and more complete. So I'm gonna walk you through all of my tips and tricks on how I work through my classic lash sets to make them look absolutely stunning on my client today. We post content like this all the time across all of our social media platforms. We have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course, YouTube, and all at Lost Artistry Lash. So go ahead and click that like, comment, and subscribe so that you can get all of our free content as soon as we drop it. To start, let's talk about our products. The products you use are everything. You need the right products for the right job. And today we are focusing on classic lashes. So I need to work with the right lashes and the right tools. For today's set, I just have this set up. I wanted to show what it's like to set up super simply. I just took an empty pre-fan tray and put my lashes on the top. So I'm working with diameters 0.10 and 0.12. The tray looks a little something like this. If you're a newer artist and you are looking to try some new diameters, try some new curls out, go ahead and get yourself some mixed trays. Mixed trays offer all the lengths that you need to get started, but in one diameter and one curl. So you're not having to buy like 100 different lash trays. Instead, you can just buy a few, one of each curl and each diameter that you want to try out. So I am working with 0.12, like I've said, and 0.10. And something that I find is a misconception in the industry is that 0.10 and 0.12 do not offer an impactful finish. Well, that is absolutely untrue. They can look just as beautiful and as full and certainly more clean than any lash diameter as long as they're used on the right person. So just because your client comes in and they say, I want a really noticeable finish, does not mean that you grab for higher diameters. So I'm squashing that right here, right now. You can grab the finest diameter and it can look so lovely as long as you're focusing on coverage. I'm not saying that you can't use 0.15, 0.18, 0.20. Flat lashes are lovely if you want additional darkness as well because they do have a flat cross section and look so dark along the base. But here's the thing. If you have clients who have an abundance of natural lashes, but each lash is so fine, and you decide to use high diameters, then those lashes can look really messy, they can feel heavy, and they just don't look as clean when they're used on the wrong person. So by all means, you can always grab for those high diameters, just make sure that your client's lashes are suitable. And today, Emily has beautiful natural lashes. She has an abundance of them, but a lot of her lashes are quite fine. So I am working with those smaller diameters and you're gonna love this set. I just know it, so stick to the end. I'll share the map, don't worry. And I'll also share exactly what the set looks like so you can be like, oh, I see what she's saying. Next thing, I'm not gonna dive into all of our products. We'll do that in another video. If you want another classic lash tutorial, just comment below. We'll share links with you. We have tons of free education on our platform that we're always happy to share. So a couple things, tweezers, you do need the right tweezers for the job. You need a good isolation tweezer because if you're not isolating properly, you're not gonna get as good of a connection or the lash might be a little bit twisted. And in order to get a clean looking lash set, you're gonna need good direction and placement. Again, I am gonna dive into those things shortly, but I'm using Lost Artistry's Sunset Ultra Tweezer for isolation. Has a really fine tip which helps work around any natural lashes, and I am working with Lost Artistry's Crane Ultra Tweezers. Both great, good curvature, and they both help isolate and place the lashes breezy. And then I'm working with Bond-Aid Primer, Super Bonder product, which goes on the lashes afterwards, and to get the lashes ready, foreplay product as well. My client is quite sensitive, so I am gonna work with Freshie product. Just open up that product, lay it on the side of my client's head. That's gonna absorb the fumes away from the eyes. So if you notice that you've been doing lashes and you're like, man, their eyes are always red, open up Freshie, put it on the side of your client. You're gonna love it. And your clients are gonna love it too when their eyes don't feel burny after the service. My glue choice today is Quickie Adhesive. It is a 0.5 second cure time glue. So if you're a newer artist, I would suggest not going for quickie because even though it sounds really appealing to use a 0.5 to 1 second cure time adhesive, you're like, oh, I'll get through services faster. That's actually not the case. We have another video on our Instagram about this. If you want that video link, send it to us. We'll send that video along to you. But if you are a newer artist, I would suggest either bondage or sensitized adhesive. Anything that's a 2 to 3 second cure time, wonderful, but those 0.5 to 1 seconds are quite advanced. Now, I have lashed my client before. I know her lashes. I know that I can use a 0.5 to 1 second cure time adhesive, so that's why I'm choosing quickie. Okay, so I'm really into lashing my client right now, and I just want to show you how I keep the lash set looking nice and clean and intentional. First things first, direction. Direction is so important. And if someone has natural lashes that are wildly directed, you need to counteract that direction. You can make the natural lashes look like they flow in whatever direction you want. It all comes down to how you place your extension. So I've got my isolated lash here, and I want to counteract the direction that is flowing left. So I need to place my extension on the right side of the natural lash. I'm on my 12 millimeter section. I'm gonna place it on the right side of that natural lash to just counteract the swoop, because I do want this extension to look like it sits perfectly straight. I find it best to look from the side while I'm doing this type of work so I can get my angle right. And you can see that natural lash looks like it directs nice and straight, but in fact, the natural lash swoops to the left. So direction is super important, and you want to keep your direction in mind throughout the whole set. I do like to draw it on my mapping because I find it reminds me. For today, I'm working with a kitten style, so I want to direct this section a little bit out, but the rest of the section's up. So you're going to want to make sure you always look at that. So if you're directing this section out a little bit, that you can slowly transition lash by lash into the other direction that is surrounding. Okay, now on this lash, let's focus on placement. I need that lash to look so clean and properly placed. So I'm just going to use my isolation hack here for a sec so you can see better. So ideally, you're placing your extension as close to that lash line, aka the skin, as possible without touching the skin. So 0.5 millimeters is ideal. And you should be placing your extension 0.5 millimeters across the entire lash line. If you're spacing your extensions in such a way that some are placed like 0.5 millimeters away, others are placed 1 millimeter away, others are placed 2 millimeters away, then your set's not gonna look very clean. So really keep that in the back of your mind. Just think, okay, am I close enough to the skin? Chances are if you can't fully see where the lash grows from the skin, you're not gonna be able to do that properly. So make sure you've perfected isolation. You have to get isolation down. It's one of the most important aspects of lashing. So I've just placed my extension. Next thing is the base perfectly flush with the natural lash? If it's lifted at the base, it's not gonna look as good as it would if it was perfectly flush. So make sure by looking from the side that it's placed nice and well, and that's gonna keep your retention good too. And next point on placement is When you're placing your extension, try your best to really place that extension right smack dab in the middle of the natural lash. So trying not to place it on the side or kind of like tilted if you can. Sometimes you have to, but don't use an extension that's more thicker than a third more than the natural lash. Because if those bases are like super thick, then the set's not gonna look very clean, and it'll also poke the client and it won't feel very comfortable for them. So avoid that at all costs. Use finer diameters. I swear to you, it is a secret that not a lot of people utilize, but 0.10, 0.12 classic lashes, oh my goodness. They are the best, and you can mix them within your thicker diameter sets as well. So no ridges of the base. We actually have a diagram on it. Here it is. So you can see in the diagram that the base is just too thick for the natural lash in this example, and that's what I'm talking about. Another way to make your lash set look darker is by mixing curls. So I am not doing this today. Well, I am mixing curls. I'm doing C curl on the inner corner, D curl in my emphasis area, and then CC curl on the very outer corners, but not with the intent of making the lash set look darker per se. But you can mix D curl on the bottom layer with your C curl, say, on the top, or you can do this with a blend of any curls, but by mixing curls throughout the layers, it can look so lovely, and using heavier curls on the bottom layer will keep the bottom layer looking nice and dark, and you can do this even for your lighter lash sets. That's a really nice way to keep your lashes looking dark, but today I want not as much emphasis on this area of the eye because her eye already flows so beautifully. It's like the perfect arch here. And more emphasis on the outer middle part of the eye because I want that to be a kitten shaping, nice and swooped. So that's why I'm working with less curl on the inner corner, more curl on the outer. Another thing you can do is use the feathering technique. If you haven't seen our tutorial on this, let us know. It's an amazing technique and it's super easy to do. So it's great for beginners or any artist. I'd actually love to hear your input on the things that I'm saying in the comments below. Like, do you have any tips and tricks on how you get your lash sets to look darker? Another thing I do is lash the bottom layer first, because the bottom layer is what your client sees when they open their eyes. So if we have lashes unlashed, especially if your client has light natural lashes, if we leave those lashes unlashed, then what's gonna happen is you're gonna be able to tell, you're gonna be able to see the natural lashes that are not lashed, and your client's gonna be like, huh, so it doesn't look very complete, but you've actually lashed so many lashes. So lashing with strategy. I'm working on the bottom layer first right now, and then I'll work through the layers from there. And the bottom layer is definitely the hardest, but I sometimes like getting the hardest stuff out of the way first. And the rest is just breezy. Also trying your best to space your extensions as much as you can, because if you focus like all your time on the outer corner and then your client has to go, and then they look in the mirror and they're like, oh cool, I have a bunch of extensions on the very outer corner and none anywhere else. That's not very good. So making sure that you're spacing them out so that you're doing some of the inner corner, some of the outer corner, some of the middle, and definitely the bottom layer first if you can. That looks so lovely and so intentional, even if the service gets cut short. Also, just trust in the process. The set will not look fully dark until it's done. Sometimes I panic. I've done this like my whole lashing career. I panic and I'm like, oh, it's not looking very good. And then I like switch my plan, even though I so confidently made a plan before. And it never works out. It's important to stick to your plan. If you know your styling theory, you know it like the back of your hand, and you design a set, it'll probably work out as long as you know your stuff. Theory is so important. Again, we do have courses on that kind of stuff. Let us know, or click the link below for more information. Learning about styling, weight equivalency, all the things. You can also mix diameters throughout a set. So say your client has some natural lashes that can hold like 0.15, 0.2s. Do those in the diameter that you know that they can hold, and nothing that's too thick for the natural lash, even if they can handle it weight-wise. And then you can go in on the inner corners, put in some 0.12s and 0.10s, and then also use those smaller diameters for the rest of the weaker lashes. Amazing how impactful that can be. So those are just a few of my tips on how I get my lash sets to look as clean and intentional as possible. For more tips and tricks, please be sure to follow our YouTube, our Instagram, our TikTok, and our Facebook, because we always post unique content on all of our social media platforms. And who knows, we might offer little discount codes and stuff across all platforms as well. So you want to keep in the know. For now, let's watch this set come to life and check out these after photos.